A boy was lying on the grass. He got up and felt around his back. He noticed that the arrow wasn't there. Looking at his small, white hands, Chris reaffirmed that he was Chris. Then he stood up and looked around. Wherever he looks, there is endless grassland. The sky was shining with rainbow colors, and the sounds of instruments he'd never heard before were coming from nowhere. His body was light, and when he jumped he would fly up several feet. It felt like he was on a trampoline, and he was having so much fun that he kept jumping up and doing somersaults. After a while, he suddenly came to his senses.
What on earth am I doing here? Am I dreaming?
As he thought about this, a voice in his head rang out, "It's not a dream." Looking around restlessly, Chris saw a boy with green hair appear in front of him.
"Oh, you are,"
the boy said, "Hi," raising his hand, and asked, "How was it?"
"Well, what are you asking about?"
You just saw Pharaoh's life, right?
"Oh, yeah, what was that all about? Was I dreaming? It was all so real, though."
The boy nodded with a smile.
No, that was another life of yours.
Another life?
Yes, it's called a past life.
A past life? Was it my past life?
Yes, that's right, from thousands of years ago.
Thousands of years ago?
Chris couldn't believe his ears.
Was I alive that long ago?
No, you've existed for a much longer time than that.
Really? But why did I go and see something like that now? Do people usually go and see things like that?
No, they don't. You just needed to see it now. You went to see it because you knew you needed to be reminded of it.
What do you mean?
Chris didn't quite understand what he meant.
You'll understand soon,
the boy said and winked.
But Pharaoh, well, did I really die then?
In that life, yes.
The boy nodded and replied.
What happened to Orgos, Emalua, and Hospanus after that?
You must know the answer to that question.
So they all died, didn't they?
In that their lives, yes.
The boy repeated.
Why, that life is awful, to be killed like that.
Chris nearly burst into tears as he remembered.
But you're still alive right now, aren't you?
Maybe so, but it's hopeless to have been born.
That's not true, it's because of that life that you're able to shine like this now. Also, you seem to think that the king and Helosmus were terrible, but in another life, you had been in the opposite position. That's what it means for a soul to grow. That's how you experience life in different positions, and little by little you deepen your understanding. It doesn't mean simply understanding with your head, but understanding at the level of your soul. Because your soul has the desire to do that.
The boy said, folding his arms. Chris felt like he had heard something similar to what the boy was saying somewhere before.
So reincarnation is the same as entering Margamore and experiencing someone else's life?
Chris asked, remembering when Claire had explained Margamore to him. The boy smiled and nodded, saying, yes.
The ultimate goal of the soul is to return to the infinite existence, the energy of light. To do that, it is necessary to let go of judgments held by the ego and forgive everything. To the point where you can love even the things or actions you find ugly. And for that, the soul reincarnates repeatedly and experiences various lives. For example, suppose you can't understand the actions of someone else, but if you put yourself in that person's shoes, you will understand why they do it. They may not want to do that, they may even want to improve that. But they can't help doing it. It's something you can never understand unless you become that person. And no one can blame them for that. Each soul is walking through its own stages. No soul is superior to another, all souls are on a journey to return to the infinite existence. So judging others by the standards of the ego only delays the growth of your soul and brings no meaning.
As he listened to the boy's story, Chris remembered the bullies Takeshi and Yohei. They are also in the same evolutionary process, and yet, for some unknown reason, they choose to bully others? That is something that should never be tolerated. Chris thought as he remembered the faces of Takeshi and Yohei. Suddenly, the faces of the two boys overlapped with those of Hospanus and Spratulus. The story of their deaths and the regret they felt touched Chris' heart. Chris looked up and saw the boy. Tears are trickling down Chris' eyes. Seeing Chris like that, The boy gave a gentle smile.
That's right, there is always a reason somewhere. If you understand the reason, you can forgive, right? And the moment you forgive, the drama ends.
How much regret must Takeshi and Yohei have experienced in their previous lives? Even though it was a misunderstanding, Chris cried out loud when he knew the hatred, sadness and desire for revenge. After crying for a while and his emotions calmed down, Chris felt a warmth in his heart. And everything he saw seemed to shine brighter. Chris wiped away his tears and smiled back at the boy who was staring at him with a smile. Seeing Chris like that, the boy nodded in satisfaction.
By the way, where exactly are we?
Chris asked as he walked alongside the boy through the grass fields.
This is another world your soul belongs to.
What do you mean?
There's the world you live in, the so-called real world, right? But apart from that, there's another world where souls truly belong. It is divided into many dimensions, and each soul belongs to a dimension that corresponds to its level. And as the soul grows, it moves through the dimensions it belongs to. So, just like you, everyone wants to grow and places themselves in the environment they think is most optimal. And the probability of finding that optimal environment is 1 in 10,000. In other words, all of the people who have been born into the material world right now have finally found the environment they have been waiting for, and have finally been given the opportunity to grow their souls. So no matter what kind of life you have, you should never waste it. There's no guarantee that you'll have the same circumstances next time.
What do you mean, never waste it? Do you mean you shouldn't commit suicide?
Of course, committing suicide will significantly delay your spiritual growth, so you shouldn't do that. You'll be throwing away the life that was given to you, which had a 1 in 10,000 chance of happening. You'll be tormented by feelings of regret and guilt, and you'll end up blaming yourself for a while.
Looking into Chris' eyes, the boy emphasized.
So it's better not to commit suicide.
But people who commit suicide do so because life is so painful, right? Even though it's so painful that it could kill them, why do they still have to live?
The boy nodded.
Because your soul wants you to shine as brightly as possible in your life.
By shine, do you mean become famous?
The boy laughed and shook his head.
It doesn't mean standing on stage or becoming famous or anything like that. Each person has a role that they are born with. By living that role, the soul can shine. Of course, the soul knows its true role. So your emotions will tell you whether you are living your true role or not. That's what it means to not waste your life. Instead of living a life that your soul doesn't inherently want, that is not your true role. Your soul can regain its brilliance by always listening to your emotions and choosing love and joy. People who commit suicide only focus on the painful and sad situations they are in at the time. And they can't see any prospects for life in the future, and they come to believe that there's no point in living. Everyone has times when they think like that. But those who actually commit suicide are tempted by the devil. You take the devil's hand that is extended to you, saying that if you die you will be saved. Without realizing the angel's hand being extended at the same time.
He looked Chris in the eye to make sure he understood, and then the boy continued.
I just want you to remember this. Even if you are tempted by the devil and end your life, you will never be saved. No matter how difficult the situation is and how difficult it seems to you that you can no longer live, you must overcome it. You are choosing to face that situation for your own soul to grow. Even if you end your life, you will be reincarnated many times and face the same situation until you are able to overcome it. This can take thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. So, since you are in that situation now, wouldn't it be better to overcome it now? Besides, it is a problem that has been given to you because you are definitely prepared to overcome it.
Hearing this, Chris was suddenly overcome with a sense of despair at having lost Bebe.
Without Bebe, there's no fun in the real world. There are no friends I can open my heart to, and nobody would miss me if I were gone. I don't think I'll be able to find any meaning to life from now on.
As Chris was thinking about this alone, he felt someone call his name. When he turned around, there was Bebe, looking up at Chris and wagging his tail.
Bebe.
Chris ran over and picked Bebe up.
Bebe, are you alive?
Chris said, picking Bebe up in both arms, then heard a voice say, "No, I'm not. I'm dead."
What, Bebe?
Chris stared at Bebe's face.
Bebe, did you talk?
Yes.
Bebe, can you talk now?
I've been talking for a long time.
Really?
Chris gently put Bebe down. Yes, it's just that in this world, the words I speak are understood by you.
Is that so? Wait, you are dead, but the fact that you're here in front of me means that this could be the afterlife?
Feroz looked around, and before he knew it, the green-haired boy had disappeared. Yeah, the afterlife, or rather, another world.
So does that mean I'm dead, too?
No, you are not dead.
Are you sure?
Yes, your consciousness is now linked to this world, so you are able to talk to me here while still conscious.
I see. But if you are here, I'd like to stay here too.
No, that's not possible. You still have things to do over there. For you, and for the Earth. Plus, I'll be returning to you soon.
Really?
Yes, that's already been determined. Of course, my body has died, so I'll be reborn into a different body.
Okay, that sounds great.
Chris' eyes lit up and he jumped up on the spot. Yes, so it's time to return to the real world. Another adventure awaits you. Then suddenly, a white haze of light enveloped Chris. By late October, the mornings are indeed chilly. Sana wore a light lavender cardigan over a long white t-shirt. She poses in front of a mirror with a bag on her shoulder. But something doesn't seem to fit properly. Is it the earrings that don't feel right? She moved her face closer to the mirror and checked the earrings on each ear. Then the doorbell rang.
Sana, it's Chris.
Her mother called out. Sana sighed as she looked at herself in the mirror.
Well, okay.
Sana.
I know, I'm on my way.
Sana picked up the smartphone from the desk, slammed the door, and stomped down the stairs. Chris was standing at the entrance, smiling.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Chris shook his head, still smiling. After waiting for Sana to put on her boots, Chris opened the front door. Sana's mother is chatting with Chris' mother who is in the car. Chris and Sana got into the back seat of the car. Then, they waved to Sana's mother who was seeing them off.
The day has finally come,
Sana said, and Chris happily nodded, saying, yes. It was a day Chris had been waiting for.
I guess the puppy's name is...
Sana started to say, but Chris interrupted her.
Of course, it's Bebe,
said Chris with a bright smile. Afterwards, the car carrying the three of them headed to Chris's relative's house to meet the new family member. Thank you for watching. Please enjoy next episode.